that is like the commenting, I want the comments there.
Right.
And I want to look like a comment person is more like radio oriented. And I would like we make fun of Frank all the time because he's 26 and we can. Like when he's 46 and I'm like 86 or whatever I'm going to be, I'll be 80, then the tables are going to turn. He'll be stepping on my oxygen tube.
Oh, sorry, am I leaning on your tube again?
Yeah. So we're in the operating room there.
Oh, that's very nice.
Isn't that cool?
That's
And
very
I
nice.
did multi-angles of that. Frank picked the background, everybody, just so you know. Frank actually took that picture
All right.
before he went in for his, he had his muffler bearings taken out,
Yes.
right, Frank?
I got a bigger tube
Yeah.
though.
So welcome to the pre-show, everybody. This is going to be fun today. We're going to have a really good show. This is going to be fun because Lori Kay and I did some cool stuff this past weekend. Did we or did we not?
Oh, we did this past
What
week.
did we do?
Sorry, I was.
I'm gonna
in
go from,
cable,
like,
I'm
the-
still in cable mode.
I'm going to go actually a teeny bit earlier, but we're not going to tell the audience that because it's all part of July 4th.
We
But
had a lot
one
of fun.
One of the first things that we did was we went to Eisenhower Park to watch the
4th of July.
4th of July celebration. By the way, Charles, if you want to talk directly into the camera like you're answering a question, you're going to look into that camera,
Okay.
okay? And when you're answering a question, if Lori says to you, Michael has a question, you're going to look in there and you go, Michael, that's a really good question. Even if Michael has a dumb question, you're going to say, Michael, that's a really good question. It won't be a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question, right, Lori? But you're going to look in there and you're going to answer him.
Okay.
Now, you don't have to keep talking into the camera if you don't want, but it's
Okay.
good to address.
But I'll address the
You
camera.
want to address
sure.
the audience
Absolutely.
when you want to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. But anyway, Lori and I had a really good time. So we went to Eisenhower Park for the fireworks.
We did.
But we get a very special view because Lori's father knows everybody in the world of golf. And now when I say everybody, I mean everybody. And everybody who runs every golf course everywhere.
Okay.
I think even on Mars,
Possibly.
right?
If they play golf there, he would
If
know
they play golf there,
people.
he would know
Yeah,
them.
he would know people.
So we get to go into Eisenhower Park. We get to go into a separate, can I say this?
Yeah.
We get to go into a separate private entrance. And we go there and we hang out, we have dinner.
We sit
and
on the
with only-
golf
there's only like
course.
50 people there. Lori's father built a golf cart that is a traveling buffet. In fact, Frank, could you bring out one of the pictures of the first one where your he's kind of, yeah, that's it.
A
Bring that live.
traveling- Whoa.
Okay? That golf cart.
Wow.
Do you want to explain that golf cart, Lori?
Well, I don't know what you're looking at.
Look at your screen.
Yeah, I'm on delay still.
What about on the
It's
big screen?
black.
Why is it black?
I don't know. Maybe it's not on.
Is it plugged in?
I don't know.
It's plugged in. Frank, could you turn that on? Anyway, he built this golf cart.
Oh, it's like a mobile bar.
It is a mobile bar,
Yeah.
but he also has a barbecue on it,
A
He's
margarita machine.
a margarita machine. He's got a pizza oven.
Yeah.
He's got
A
drinks,
sink. He's got a
beer, wine, and on the top, even if it's really hot weather, he has a mister, and it blows mist out.
And it plays
and
music.
he has a big box truck from his company that he actually just sold his company, but they had a bunch of big box trucks.
I see.
He drives the golf cart into this box truck, and then he brings it onto this place where we go into this private entrance. And so check out this golf cart. Get a couple other angles. Can you
Wow.
see now, Lori?
Now my question is, how does he power everything on there? I mean,
Generator.
He has a generator on the.
So he brings a generator, yeah, and then he plugs the generator into wherever we are through extension cords.
Sure. Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course he has suckers like me. Like I am now the hot dog guy. I don't know if I'm the official hot dog guy, but I am the hot dog guy.
It actually moves too. Not very fast.
Yeah.
It
but
drives
it
like
is
a golf cart.
drivable. It's drivable.
And then so he drives it back into this truck when all the fireworks, everything's over,
done. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we got to do that. As a matter of fact, then we saw some
That's-
fireworks,
that's-
yeah.
and we're pretty close to the fireworks,
Yeah.
as you can tell. I actually put people in front of me on purpose to make it look cool, but in fact, we're really close. Yeah, those are the fireworks we got to see.
Now, one of the things that I have never experienced, that I did experience this year, July 4th, the evening of July 4th, my phone has a million notifications from this
Oh.
app called Nextdoor.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Uh-huh.
Did you get all?
So many people are complaining about all the noise going on from the fireworks. They're waking up the animals, the dogs, the cats. Nobody can go to sleep because of it. Yada yada. So it's a big thing. And it's the first time I've noticed that next door has lit up like this because of the fireworks celebration.
So what does it do? It notifies somebody to
Yes,
stop doing fireworks?
it's a neighborhood thing. So it's like I have Hop Hog next door, and it's your neighbors, and you can all complain on it. But complain or say,
Did it work?
hey, I have this really great
No.
landscape.
Because there was the same amount of people saying, this is July 4th, we're going to shoot fireworks. You get what you're saying,
It's so funny you said that, because I was home on 4th of July that night, that particular night, and I thought I looked out the front window, and I have a street light at the end of my property, and there was like a fog of smoke, and they were just going off, and I thought to myself, aren't
over
they
you.
illegal? Aren't they illegal in New York? And I'm
No.
like, where is everybody getting all this stuff from?
fireworks.
Because as far as I know, it's illegal in New
Yeah,
York State.
It is illegal.
Yet it certainly didn't seem illegal in my neighborhood.
Nope,
Yeah.
not mine either.
Yeah.
I'm getting rubbing, I think mostly from Charles.
His tie.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
That should
If you could, something like that.
yeah. That should be better.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. And then we're thinking, well, what are we going to do on July 4th? And the weather was beautiful. Was it July 4th, Lori?
July 4th was Thursday, yeah. We got
So what are we going to do? So guess what we did? We went kayaking on the
Kayaking.
Nissaquag River.
Wow, nice.
It was so cool.
It
As a
was
matter of fact,
great.
I think I have a picture of Lori. Here she is.
There we go.
Foot hanging off the boat. You leave, you know where the Bull is in Smithtown?
Yes. I
Okay.
do.
Right across the street from there is a place where this company has kayaks. You can rent a kayak. And like you get in the water and like you're in the middle of like when the cars are going, you're
I know
like, oh, this
exactly
is
what
Long
that is,
Island.
yeah.
But then once
Yeah.
you start moving,
Okay.
it's very quiet. You don't know you're on Long Island.
Okay. Okay.
And
It was fun. It's a lot of fun to do.
yeah, we saw a heron. We saw a couple. Actually, we saw a bunch of herons. There's one right there.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. We had a good time.
So you just got a kayak from that location and then took it to
And then they
Nissaquag?
met us like a few miles down.
Okay.
We were on it for probably about 2 hours.
Yeah, about 2 hours. Yeah,
And they
you rent
met
them
us-
right there.
What's that?
I was saying to Charles, you rent them right there.
Right
They're
there.
right
Yeah,
there.
they
You
dump it
just
in the water for
pay
you.
the
You get
lady,
in.
and
Nice.
off you go.
Wow.
You don't even. You just have to call because you have to. They only launch at high tide.
I see.
So
I think you have to be, 12?
I don't know.
I have a feeling you have to be 12, yet they let pets on the kayaks.
Maybe they're older than 12.
Maybe. Well, in dog
In
years.
dog years, you see, there's always a snafu
Yep.
somewhere.
But if you ever wanted to do something like that,
Sure.
it's like you have a little bit of wilderness on Long Island, which we're really not used to.
Long Island has a bit of everything.
This is for sure. A bit of everything. So that was a lot of fun. Then then after that we went into the Huntington Village
Okay.
and we went to Besito.
Sure. Sure. Right up from Swallow.
Right.
Swallow.
Yeah.
I think
right.
Swallow closed.
Oh, they
didn't it?
closed?
Yeah, I think Swallow's gone.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I like that place
Yeah.
too, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah, Besito's pretty good though.
Yeah, feels good.
And it wasn't that crowded. And was that the night I had a margarita?
That's the night you had a few.
No.
Yes.
Did I have frozen margarita?
Yes.
Is that where I had them?
Yes.
I had 2.
You don't even remember. Listen to that. Is that where I had them? How many did I have? That is the night that you don't remember.
Oh, no, I do
Correct.
remember. Because I remember having trouble walking to the car.
I said, thank God I'm driving. That was the night.
I usually can have like 1 glass of wine.
Uh-huh.
Or like, I don't even drink cocktail drinks very much anymore, especially since I've been watching what I eat.
Sure.
Because it's so full of sugar,
It
it's
is.
poison.
It is.
But, so when you've cut your, I'm already a lightweight when it comes to alcohol. So when you cut your food consumption down and how much you eat, and you already are a lightweight, it's a lethal combination
is.
with alcohol.
It was lethal for you, that's for sure.
What do you mean?
I watched I think you were asleep by 8:30.
That's nothing new.
I saw the whole fireworks, my whole neighborhood lit up. You were out cold on the couch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, of course, I had no phone, no internet, and nothing, so it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Well, first you didn't have electricity for like 4 days.
I got it back Wednesday afternoon from the storm on Sunday.
right? And then
And I
you
still
found
didn't-
out you had no internet.
Right, once I thought it was going to click back on.
And
but
we've had trouble with internet for how long now? 8 days?
today's day 8.
Yeah.
My patience is like paper thin.
It's lucky we don't broadcast this show.
Cablevision, Optimum, are you people listening right now? The lady at that address that I gave you, she's going to go nuts. She's going to lose it.
Is there anybody actually watching the show yet?
Yeah.
There are?
No, not yet.
I didn't think
It's
so.
not 5:30 yet.
Oh. Streamcast Network. We have only 4 minutes left. You know, I really do need to have some kind of a watch or something with me.
Isn't there a timer up here for you?
There is, but I have trouble seeing it from this distance.
Oh, okay.
I might
I'll let
bring
you
it
know.
Closer. Well, I have my phone because we're not. This phone also acts as a camera that goes wirelessly into our system.
Frank,
Oh,
I
I see.
really like the background.
See.
Oh, thank you.
The background looks phenomenal.
It does. This is where Dr. Thomson practices from.
Where is that?
I don't know.
Oh.
It says hybrid operating room
Oh.
with an M, not an M, at Memorial Hospital.
Memorial
Whatever
Hospital.
that
I don't know where that is.
means. Generic hospital.
It looks clean. That's all
what
I'm
it
going to
looks like,
say
yeah.
right now.
Oh, wow, nice.
It's pretty cool, isn't
It is.
Can everybody see this? I'll show it to you on my iPhone. Oh, wait a minute.
What is it?
You're already watching it.
It's very
So,
cool.
it's pretty cool. You know, Frank, we have less latency tonight.
You think so?
I can tell already because I turned the phone around and within 10 seconds we were good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think Tom got us out of the proverbial
Hopefully.
duty box again.
That Tom, we love him.
Who doesn't love Tom?
I know.
It's a good job.
Tom said thank you very much for his gift certificate, by the way.
Well, it was a very nice gift.
Tom is my mentor in the
Okay.
live streaming industry.
I see.
He's pretty well known in the industry. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, Paul Richards called me today. He wanted to talk about something from PTC Optics. He owns a company that manufactures that camera up there.
Oh, right here. I
That's
see.
called a pan, tilt, and zoom camera.
Okay.
And he called me because he wants to work on a project with me. And Tom was on the phone, and Tom's one of his resellers. So I said, Tom, Paul's calling. He goes, he is? I said, yeah, let's play a joke on him. You talk to him. So I conference Paul in, and I just go, hello? He goes, Cliff? And then Tom goes, hey, Cliff's not here. This is Tom. Paul goes, oh my God, I called you by mistake? I was supposed to call Cliff. And then Tom goes, Cliff who?
That's good.
We got him pretty bad. Tom's in Alabama.
Oh,
Yeah, Frank, this looks pretty good. Even the background, I like it.
Yeah, the background looks nice.
Even the close-up background.
Mhm.
You know what? I blurred it just a little. Do you think we should do that from now on?
I think you're better off with a slight blur
Yeah,
than over blur.
I think so too. I think we're going to redo FLG for the fall.
Okay.
So it's now at 5:28.
Yes, I really want to start the show.
I know.
Can we
You're
speed it
very
up?
excited about that.
I am.
It's actually, this is going to be a really good show.
I
And
think so.
you're going to have this whole hour of stuff. You're going to be able to cut this stuff up. Trust me when I tell you, you're going to be able to use a lot of this
Okay.
stuff. It's going to help your website. It really
Alright.
is. And you'll be able to put it on Instagram
Sure.
as long as it's under a minute.
5:29.
Yeah, right.
59
No, I
seconds.
do know that. Yeah.
And you put it on
Yep.
Facebook and you put it everywhere.
Yeah.
I have no
And-
screen though.
And we
Frank,
It's not on
No.
and Frank, you have a microphone, correct?
it? Yes.
Okay. I mean, you want to keep the sound down. We don't usually like you in public.
Yeah, I don't speak out of turn.
Yeah. Too bad I don't control the mixer. But yeah, this is going to be fun. It's 5:29.
Well, there's no signal. It's not plugged in. Okay.
What's that?
No big deal. I have no signal. It's not plugged in. Not a big deal.
What's not plugged in?
Leave it. It's okay. It's almost 5:30. No sweat. Not that important. It's going to click to 5:30 any second.
I just shaved my beard off.
I thought you looked different.
Yeah, I look really weird.
It's 5:30.
When I first
so-
met you, I remember you had that.
Yeah, I did
that
a beard. I
thing.
grow it in the
Oh.
winter.
Uh-huh.
But right before I met you, and we have to go live in about 10 seconds, I fell down here and I got ripped open. This
see.
got 6 stitches, broke my nose, and bruised my elbows.
Ooh, what hospital did you go to?
What's that?
What hospital did you go
I
to?
didn't.
Oh.
I went to City MD.
Oh, okay. And they put sutures in there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Dr. Kevorkian.
Well, that's what we
so
call
it's
him.
5:30.
It's 5:30.
It's 5:30 p.m., Frank J. Parisi. I'm still alive, even after seeing Dr. Kevorkian. Do you know what that means, Frank J.?
I do.
Frank J., it's time to start the show, so you know what that means. Let's roll 'em. Welcome to Anatomy of an Entrepreneur. My name is Cliff Sobel, host and founder of the Streamcast Network and host of Anatomy of an Entrepreneur. We have an exciting show for you today. We're going to take care of a little housekeeping first, and then we're going to introduce our guest, who is part of the hottest topic around, as Lori Kay says. Is that true, Lori?
It is.
So this show, and I'm thinking of changing this up because I don't really want them for a sponsor anymore, is brought to you by My Instant Office. If you need a desk, a chair, a conference room, you just need a place to work. Come on in, sit down, and get to work. We rent by the day, the week, the month. And this show is also brought to you by the Huntington Chamber of Commerce. Lori Kay,
Yes, sir.
did you know that the Huntington Chamber of Commerce is the largest chamber of commerce on Long Island?
I do know that.
Oh.
I know. Sorry. Was I supposed to act surprised?
Well, how did you figure that out? How did you know?
Because you say it every Monday at 5:32.
Oh, and you say that.
I do.
Yeah, you do. And I once went to the associate director of the Huntington Chamber of Commerce, Courtney Bynum. And I said, Courtney, I need something to say about the chamber. I need something succinct, something inspirational, something motivating, something that would drive people to want to join the chamber. And she said, Cliff, just tell everybody it's the best darn chamber in the world. And that's all she wrote. So today we have on a fascinating guest. I mean, we have all walks of life here. We've had on everybody from a Guinness Book World Record holder to a lawyer who opened the first American law office in Moscow in 1990 as the wall was coming down. Today is no different. Today we have on not just a surgeon, but a surgeon, you know, I found out more about him, more than he knows that I know, that he really cares about people, and also he happens to be a really good businessman. And I thought it'd be important to have somebody on not only who's been successful in a career, but also talk about maybe the business side of what he does. And I thought that'd be really great to do. We have on Dr. Charles Thomson III. He is a general and also bariatric surgeon, which I think is a great topic to discuss. Charles, Dr. Do you want me to call you Charles, Dr. Thompson?
Charles is fine.
Dr. T. Charles,
Yes.
I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having
It's
me.
going to be a lot of fun, as you can tell already from our pre-show. So, I want to start with a picture of you
Uh-oh.
that actually you supplied me with. Tell me about this picture.
This picture, let's see, I was probably around 4, maybe 5. So this is around, let's just say, mid-80s. This is in Washington, D.C., in the backyard of our church at the time. We were having a family picnic. This was a family picnic that my church put on every summer. And my father came, my mother was there, and obviously my brother was there as well.
That's pretty cool. I love that picture.
Thank you.
I love the outfit that you're wearing. Bring it back one more time, Frank. Lori, I
Yes.
want a pair of overalls like that. I want overall
Okay.
shorts.
You got
Anyway,
it.
it's really cool.
Yep.
What kind of kid were you?
You know, I think about that question every single day because I'm dealing with my children, and I'm thinking to myself, is this the way I acted when I was a child? from what I remember, I was 100% very, my parents ran a tight ship, and I was very mannerly, and I listened to them all the time, but I always had, in the back of my mind, things that I should do, that I want to do, that my parents wouldn't be so happy about. I just had to make sure that they didn't know. So I was a very, inquisitive boy, and I got into a fair share of trouble.
You did?
Playful trouble. Playful
okay.
trouble as a kid, yeah.
So you weren't like a kid that got into big trouble and stuff in school?
No. Oh, not in school. Absolutely not.
Yeah, but you
No,
weren't.
no,
You don't
no.
seem like that type of trouble
No,
in school. You don't
no.
seem like you got into big fights. You
But
don't
no,
seem-
not at all. Not at all. The kind of trouble I'm speaking of is, climbing the tree when I shouldn't be climbing the tree, and then I fall out the tree and I hurt myself, but I don't want to tell my parents because then I get in trouble again. Those kinds of trouble, the mischievous sort of things.
Were you like always like when you were a little kid? Were you interested in like biology or medicine or? I mean, did any of that stuff come into play when you were a kid?
To be very honest, not really. Not really. As a kid, I read a lot. I read books. My favorite books were question and answer books.
What's a question and answer book?
So books that had, 50, 60 questions, just general questions, and then they would answer them for you. And actually, most of those books were my father's books. When he was 50s and 60s, they didn't have computer, they didn't have Google. So they just had these books that asked questions. For example, what is Earth? And then they'd have like a little paragraph about what Earth is, or why do things fall down? And they'd have a little paragraph about why things fall down. So I wasn't particularly drawn to science, but that was the topic in a lot of those books. I also read Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, old stuff. My father constantly gave us all his old stuff, so I was reading a lot of old things.
So your parents really were a catalyst in education for you,
100%.
which followed you throughout your school career.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And when you were ready to go to college, what was on the radar? Was there anything on the radar?
At that time, science was definitely on the radar because in high school, my mother pushed science. My mother was a microbiologist, so
Wow.
since I was about 8th grade, she started pushing science. So my brother and I, very hard. And so when I got to college, wasn't anything else I could do. So I said, no, let's do a biology major.
And were you passionate about it at that point?
Somewhat. I went throughout the 4 years of college not knowing what I was going to do with this biology degree. There's 3 main things that you can do with a biology degree, in my opinion. You can either teach, you can be a research scientist, like my mother was, or you can go to medical school. So I decided to go to medical school.
That is a big commitment. I would have to think at that point when you decided to go to medical school, that was not a light consideration. You had to know what you were getting involved in. Yes?
Somewhat. I had mentors at school and friends who were very much involved, and they got their hands and read everything about medical school, and I did kind of too. So I was lucky that I had a pack of people that I surrounded myself with that sort of guided me along.
Mentors are important.
100%, absolutely. And had I not had them, I don't know if I would have gone to med school.
Right, that's interesting. So, but you took on the challenge of med school, which is a long road. It's like, 4 years of undergrad. What is it, like 3 or 4 years of medical school? Then it's like 3 or 4 years of residency, and then you have a specialty and all that.
That's
So
right. That's right.
it's, by the time you're a senior citizen, you're ready to start practicing medicine.
Well, it's funny you say that. By the time I got done with all my training, my friends have had their jobs for 10 years. And so their 401ks had already started, expanded, they were growing, they were moving up in their own position in life, and they were out traveling the world. I spent the past 12 years in books and studying and helping people, which is a great thing too, but it's just very different than my friends.
Yeah, I bet. But those tables turn eventually, right?
They do.
So from what I understand, you went to medical school, and now you have to start thinking about a specialty, and you started trying out different specialties. Am I correct so far?
Correct.
And you loved everything.
I did. So during medical school, you have rotations, and in each rotation is a different field of medicine, and you spend 4 to 6 weeks in each rotation. And at the end of every single rotation, I said, oh, I have to do this. For example, I did pediatrics. At the end of pediatrics, I had to be a pediatrician. I then did psychiatry. I said, oh, no pediatrics. I have to be a psychiatrist. When we got to surgery, it was different. And at the end of surgery, I said, without a doubt, this is my calling.
What was it about surgery that you knew it was your calling? What did you like about it?
I was able to use my hands. It afforded me ability to learn technology, scientific medical technology. And I really enjoyed my ability to fix the kind of problems that a surgeon fixes. In my case, a general surgeon.
I know that you're a general surgeon. That's part of what your practice is.
Yes.
How did you find your way to bariatric surgery?
So, Cliff, let's say you come to the emergency room and you have an infected appendix. They call the surgeon takes out your appendix. You see the surgeon once, post-operatively in the office just to make sure you're doing okay, and then you never see the surgeon again. Then let's think about your primary care doctor. You see your primary care doctor once a year, at least. You develop a relationship, you know your primary care doctor, they follow you over a number of years. So the difference between a surgeon and a primary care doctor is a surgeon doesn't get to know their patient, a primary care doctor does. But with bariatric surgery, there's at least 4 to 5 months before the operation where the patient has to come back and forth to the hospital. You get to learn about your patient, know your patient, develop a relationship. After the surgery, you see them several times during that first year after the surgery, and then you see them on an annual basis just to make sure they're keeping up with their diet and nutrition. So not only was I able to operate, use my hands, but I was also able to develop relationships with my patients, and that's why I chose bariatric surgery.
It's interesting because relationships are so important in your field, and it's lacking. Maybe it's changing now a little bit, but it's always lacked a little bit. But you like building relationships with your patients. You like that long-term thing.
I do.
So what did you like more? Do you like the relationship part most? Do you like the surgery part most? Like, what do you like most?
That's like asking, a mother or father, which child do you like the best, I don't have an answer for you. I like each particular part just as much as the other. I love operating. I love using my hands. I love creating relationships.
Right.
I love seeing the change that I help another patient create for themselves.
Right.
Patients come to me, they are obese, they have other medical conditions. After I help them, and along with their own help, they are not obese. Those medical conditions, some of them go away, and they have a completely different outlook on life. And I see it, whenever I see them, I see it in their face.
And this is where I want to start digging into the bariatric stuff, because I think a lot of us, we don't even know much about it. When you hear bariatric surgeon, someone thinks lap band. Someone thinks, I guess liposuction, is that all? It's not really, I don't know whether that's part of it. But there's a lot to it.
There is a lot to it. One of the biggest questions that I get from patients is, let me back up, not so much from patients, but from just lay people in the street. They say, oh, you're a bariatric surgeon. That's liposuction, right? That's 100% different than bariatric surgery. Liposuction is a cosmetic, for the most part, a cosmetic procedure that plastic surgeons do. Bariatric surgery refers to an operation that is performed for the sole purpose of helping patients lose weight and to treat, sometimes cure, other medical conditions that come along with obesity. You mentioned lap band. Lap band is a surgical procedure that is done for that purpose, but it's also a procedure that is not being done as often because we're starting to see a lot of long-term complications from lap bands. Lap bands were very popular in the early 2000s, and especially since the advent of the sleeve, the laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy, around 2004, 2005, the sleeve started becoming popular. The lap band numbers have decreased significantly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How do I know if I'm a candidate? You know, like I walk in and I'm 40 pounds overweight, like I was in January. I was 40
Sure.
pounds overweight.
Sure.
You know, I feel like it would have been a lot easier for me to go in and get surgery.
Right. So the strict criteria for being approved for in the United States now, this is for the United States, for having bariatric surgery is having a body mass index or a BMI greater than 40 or a BMI greater than 35 with what we call a comorbidity or a medical condition caused by or related to obesity. 40 pounds overweight for someone might be different BMI than 40 pounds overweight for someone else. So we go by a standard using a BMI, and the BMI is calculated based on your height and your how much you weigh.
So I don't know. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So I have a question from Lori Blumstein, and she wants to know, when you meet a patient and you go through all the options, do you let the patient decide which one they want, or do you say, hey, I think this is the best one, and if they don't agree with you, how do you deal with that?
Excellent questions, Lori. I give patients, my job is to give out information, and I give out information as best as I am able to, risks, benefits. If the patient already has a certain procedure in mind, then there is some wiggle room as to which one I am able to and willing to perform. There are some procedures where I say I'm absolutely not willing to perform that procedure given your current BMI and your other medical comorbidities. So it really depends on the individual person. I hope that helps, Lori.
Here's a question I have. I know people have gone in for this, I guess, the sleeve procedure, because that's the, excuse me, it's the sleeve procedure. And before you start with them, they actually have to lose weight before they go in for the surgery. Am I correct so far?
Not anymore. It used to be that way, yes. Oftentimes insurance companies would deny approval for a procedure if they've seen that patients have lost weight before getting the surgery, because they say, well, why do we pay for this surgery if you're already losing weight? So that's why it's changed. So you don't have to lose weight, but you do have to be in a program that shows that you're at least trying to lose weight.
Gotcha. And because I've noticed that some people lose like 30 pounds before they get the surgery, and then I scratch my head, like I guess like an insurance company, and I go, well, why do you want to get the surgery if you're already losing the weight?
Yeah, yeah. So most bariatric surgeons will have patients on a 2-week liquid diet, and during that time, there have been patients to lose significant amounts of weight during that time. Some patients don't lose any weight during that time. So the reason why they sort of took out this requirement to lose weight was because there was no way to standardize losing weight before an operation. You can't say that just because you lost weight before the operation that you're going to continue to lose weight. And plus, that liquid diet is not healthy to extend for a long period of time.
Right. You know, and then I know when you go for this surgery, it's not like snap, snap, I'm going to do this and everything's good. You now have to change your entire lifestyle. It's a big commitment, isn't it?
Absolutely.
How do you describe to us how you either ferret people out or help them set their expectations that this is a life-altering experience? How do you do that?
So from the very first consultation, we try and set expectations. One of my favorite things to tell patients is what we're doing is giving you a tool. It's up to you to use the tool properly. If you have a hammer and a nail, that nail is not getting into the 4x4 if you use that hammer, that tool, improperly. If you use the hammer properly, you'll get the nail into the 4x4 without a problem.
Now, can I actually get sick? I know, like, I want to go to the Chinese buffet. But after surgery, I can't really eat like I'm not supposed to eat like I did before, right?
That's right. So, number one, you physically will not be able to. Physically.
What will happen?
Your stomach, the sleeve, or the pouch will become very expanded, and you could have some serious complications. You would start having emesis or vomiting episodes before anything serious happened, but physically you will not be able to eat as much. But also mentally, you won't want to. So, especially with the sleeve gastrectomy, we are removing the stimulus to your brain that tells you, I want to eat.
Oh.
Now, that stimulus starts to come back after 3-4 months after having the sleeve, but at least for those first 2-3 months, the stimulus that tells your brain you want to eat has been drastically decreased.
And then what?
And then
what? What about afterwards? Now the desire to want to eat comes back. Now
it
what?
starts to come back. Hopefully by then, and again, this is a tool, right? By then, you will have been following dieting and exercise regimens, and you've learned how to eat, what to eat, when to eat, and you won't revert back to that previous behavior.
As long as you are motivated and
Right.
disciplined.
Now, I would like to say something else, Cliff. Most of the patients that come to me and come to any bariatric surgeon, they say the same thing. Doc, I cannot lose weight. I've tried dieting. I've tried exercising. I don't even eat that much, and I still can't lose weight. Not only that, I put on weight. The vast majority of patients, that's what they say. So in most patients, it's not so much they eat too much, because don't forget, surgery is the last step after you've tried everything else. People come to have surgery as a last resort. So they've tried dieting, they tried exercising, they've tried to be good and manage how much they eat. As we discussed before, there's many other factors involved with obesity that contributes to obesity in the population. So, I don't talk too much to patients about not eating too much. I don't have to. They've already tried that.
Do you ever guide people away from the surgery?
Yes.
Even if they're like obese?
Yes.
Why?
Oftentimes patients who have had multiple surgeries in the abdomen, they're not candidates for bariatric surgery. Sometimes patients are just way too sick to be able to tolerate having bariatric surgery. Think about it. You're having an operation, you're electively choosing to have an operation, and you're walking into the hospital. This is not emergency surgery. This is not something that if you don't have, you'll die tomorrow. You're choosing to have the surgery. So we want to perform the surgery in the best, most safest condition possible.
I know that, we have another question.
Yeah, so the question is, there are a few different methods right now to have weight loss surgery. There's the sleeve, or there's a few different. Which one, in your opinion, and I know it kind of depends on the patient, but in your opinion, which one is the best one and why?
Thank you for the question. That's a very difficult answer because, like you just said, it really depends on the patient.
Right.
What we're seeing now is the sleeve gastrectomy has become very popular, not just because patients tolerate it more easily, but also because surgeons, it's technically a little less challenging to perform. Also, doing a sleeve doesn't, quote unquote, burn bridges, meaning with the gastric bypass, you're rearranging the intestine. And so if the gastric bypass doesn't work, or you're not losing as much weight as you want to lose, it's hard to do anything else after the gastric bypass.
Right.
With the sleeve, all we're doing is shaving off and making the sleeve a narrow tube. If the sleeve doesn't work, there are alternatives and other surgical procedures that can be performed to help lose weight.
So if somebody was, let's say, an average of about 100 pounds overweight that had tried a few different things, would you say that if there were if there were no other health issues besides the fact that they were overweight, would that be something that you would recommend? And exactly when you say the sleeve, exactly what does that do? I mean, obviously it makes something that's large smaller,
Yes.
but does that get bigger over time?
Wonderful, excellent question. So The sleeve has become very popular since around 2008. And I don't want to bore you with the surgical history, but before then, the sleeve was still performed. It was just part of another bariatric procedure.
Okay.
Okay? And so what a very smart surgeon said was, well, what would happen is they would perform a sleeve, and then several months later, they bring them back to perform the second part of the operation. And then a very smart surgeon said, well, why are we bringing these people back for the second part of the operation if they're losing a lot of weight with this sleeve? So that's when the sleeve became a standalone operation, probably sometime in the 90s, and then became very popular in the mid-2000s. Now, the difference between a sleeve, the main difference between a sleeve and a gastric bypass, a sleeve is considered what we call a restrictive procedure, meaning you're just restricting the amount of food that you can eat, or you're reducing the size of the stomach, causing the restriction. Whereas a gastric bypass is a restrictive procedure where you're making the stomach a lot smaller, but you're also causing a lot of malabsorption. So the food that you do eat, the little bit of food that you do eat, is also not being absorbed as efficiently as someone without surgery. So, traditionally, you lose more weight, a little bit more weight with the gastric bypass initially, but there's also a lot more risks and complications that are possible with the gastric bypass.
So if you go and have the sleeve done, you decide that this is the right thing for your patient. Do they have to take? I have had a few friends that have had. I probably have one friend that's had each one of them along the last 10 years, 15 years.
Okay.
And I've noticed that some of them, they've lost some hair. Some of them just look kind of pale. You know what I mean? Like, is there a, do you need to take vitamins afterwards? Is there?
Sure.
Right?
So both of those things that you just mentioned, the hair loss and the pale or scientific, medical term, anemic looking. These are both.
Is that what it's called?
It's called
I'm
anemia.
sorry, I'm like,
It's called
you don't
anemia.
look so good today.
Being pale is called
Right.
usually because of anemia or low levels of iron
Got
in
it.
the blood.
Okay.
And with the gastric bypass in particular, you have to consistently check iron levels along with other vitamin and mineral levels in the body to make sure that you have the right appropriate levels. With the hair loss, we often counsel patients to take biotin, and there will be a period of hair loss, but eventually the hair does come back.
Got it.
So you're going out on your own. You're working for a practice, and you're going out on your own.
Yes.
Are you going to add more consultative approaches as well to what you do, rather than somebody who comes in, you consult with them on the surgery, but rather helping other people out who you may not think are candidates for the surgery?
Sure. So that's 100% in the plans. I'm being that I just opened the practice, I'm going to strictly stick to what I know best, performing operations and consulting on surgical treatment of obesity. As the practice grows, I will start offering services with nutritionists
I just think
and
that's so
bariatric
important.
medical doctors. Absolutely.
Because,
Absolutely.
there are a lot of us, we don't need the surgery,
Right.
but we really need guidance, not just from some program or some drink or some mix, but somebody who really knows this stuff from the top down. And to have someone like you would be very important to teach the rest of us who don't always need to have surgery, what is it that we need to do?
Right. Right.
So, but what made you decide to go on your own? Scary.
It is. It is. So first of all, I went back to school, and I got my Master's of Business Administration.
You went to NYU.
Correct. I went to NYU, and I finished last year. And to be honest, when I graduated, that's not when I decided to go on my own. When I graduated, I said, okay, I'm done. I'm going to use my knowledge and energy and perspective to help the current practice that I'm in. And then I woke up one day and I said, well, I'd rather do this my way. A big part of my upbringing, My parents always instilled helping others and serving. I wanted to help and I wanted to serve my way. And I felt that creating my own practice would enable me to do that the best way.
What is better about your way? What makes you unique? What makes you different?
I don't think that I'm unique or that I'm different than most, but what I do think is that I provide a comfort, I provide, I hope, confidence, and I hope that I engender trust in people. See, I think that people do a lot better from a medical position if they're confident in, they trust in, they're comfortable with their physician. And I think that that's something that I offer to my patients, not only to my patients though, I offer to staff, I offer to friends, I offer to hopefully anyone that I come in contact with. So I'm using this business as a way to, I'm using this practice as a way to sort of care for people more optimally.
That's pretty cool.
I have a question.
Uh-oh. Trouble
This is-
now.
this comes from- so, talk to me about the situation with the insurance company. Is it paid for by certain insurance companies? Does there have to be a medical reason, or is this all out of pocket on your own?
Right. So as of, I think it was June of 2013, the American Medical Association, which is the leading medical association in the country, said that obesity is a disease. And you may be thinking, well, so what? Big deal. Obesity is a disease. Well, if you can imagine, before June of 2013, obesity was probably looked at more of as a social phenomenon. Something that just, some people are big boned, or some people are just a little bigger than others. But in June of 13, AMA said that it was a disease. And what does that mean? If it's a disease, if it's a medical condition, then insurance companies are obligated to help pay to treat that disease, not pay to treat a social phenomenon.
Why is it now a disease?
Well, because they started to see that obesity has been related to a lot of, again, this term comorbidities, medical conditions, hypertension, sleep apnea, certainly diabetes.
Well, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Very good question. Some cases, the egg came first, other cases, the chicken. As much as we know, we realize we don't know. The more handle that we have on any disease entity, I think one of the big, other than obesity, cancer is huge right now, right?
Yeah.
The more we learn about cancer, the more we know, the better we treat cancer, the more we know that we don't know. And so all we do know is that those are related. Obesity and diabetes, hypertension, etc. are related. And so as a last resort, surgery for obesity has been well proven to benefit patients greatly.
Also, there are these environmental factors. When I was a kid, on Saturdays, I'd go do errands with my dad, and he'd take us out for lunch every Saturday. We'd go to Burger King. Not the healthiest place, but who knew that back then anyway? And I'd have 2 hamburgers, French fries, and a Coke. It's now probably triple the size of that. And I think, is that part of the issue also? And the type of food that we're eating?
That's certainly part of it, and that's one of 1,000 things that's wrong. That's part of it.
Plus, it's all processed.
I think there's a lot of preservatives in foods. I think that with technology, we've become more sedentary. We're not hunters and gatherers anymore.
No.
Okay. Technology is excellent and it's wonderful, but it also has its downsides, and that's one of them. We as a society has become more sedentary. There's genetic factors at play as well. There are familial factors, and I separate genetic and familial factors because, there's no gene that says mom or dad cooks a lot of unhealthy food, but it's something that's passed down from generation, What
about when, like, a woman's pregnant? Will some of the nutrition she gets be passed down to a child and could cause obesity, that they can't lose weight as fast or something like that?
So,
are those one of those factors?
So you're talking about, I think, two different things there. One is the mother, while she's pregnant, eating, and will her obesity cause a child to become obese? There may be some data to suggest that. I don't think there's a direct link.
Right.
I think more importantly is if the mom is obese and she's been used to eating a certain way, then she's more likely to pass that kind of behavior down.
You said that you think you can help more by being on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So is part of what you're doing is getting inside your patients' heads to find out who they are as an individual, then to also know how to treat them as an individual?
Well, I try to relate to my patients. And so in relating to patients, I think that helps make them more at ease. And I think it engenders, here talking about trust again, engenders more trust in our relationship. Right. And I think that there's better outcomes because they're more willing to adopt to the dietary and exercise regimen. They're more willing to buy in
Right.
to this whole change of lifestyle that's taking place.
I believe you're going to be very successful, but I
you.
also believe you're going to have a lot of challenges. How do you handle challenges, like rough challenges? You know, like now you're on your own. You don't bring home the bacon, you don't eat.
Exactly. Preparation, and I try to prepare as much as I can. I'm not going to be prepared for everything, but I try to forecast, I try to predict, and hopefully it'll work out.
How do you handle challenges, though? Like something very challenging.
Talk, ask. Nothing is new under the sun. And anything that I'm going through, there have been hundreds that have gone through it as well. And I've been lucky where I have a network, and I'm still growing that network.
Yeah.
Of people who I'm able to talk to, who are able to give advice and advisement. So that's how I handle challenges.
How do you deal with failure?
First of all, admission is step number one. You have to admit to yourself that you didn't have the outcome that you wanted, and then you learn from it. I don't spend much time dealing with failure. If a failure occurs, I learn from it, and I move on.
Interesting. Lori, did you have another question?
Of course, I had another question.
Oh.
So is there an age limit that you can start at to even for you to see a patient at? Because sometimes you see a 12 or 13-year-old that's obese, and I'm sure that's not the age, but is there an age that you can do this at? And has anybody ever had it done twice?
So
Wow.
most of the procedures that are being performed are on adults,
Mm-hmm.
patients that are older than 18. There are centers that do perform pediatric bariatric surgery.
Oh, wow.
And most of the children's hospitals, you have, most famous one is probably CHOP, Children's Hospital of, is it Pittsburgh or Philadelphia? Children's Hospital in Pennsylvania, and the one in Southern California associated with USC. There are pediatric bariatric surgeries that are being done, and they do them here on Long Island as well. I know St. Charles has done some, and Port Jefferson.
Wow.
And I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I imagine Cohen's Hospital here
Children's
associated.
Hospital.
Yeah.
That must be a specialist.
Well, there is the same criteria for children as there is for adults, with a few extra things.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make sure, most places want to make sure that growth plates have matured to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
And most centers of excellence want to make sure that these patients really need, this is not just a temporary thing, they're not going to grow out of being obese, meaning, this kid is 12 years old, his BMI is 45, oftentimes patients will grow out of being what we consider obese. So
And why is it a 4 or 5 month process from beginning to surgery?
Right. So most insurance companies have a provision that they want you to be in a nutritional program, a documented nutritional program for a certain amount of time. Most insurance companies will say they want you to see a nutritionist or a dietitian at least 3 or 4 times, and you can only have 1 visit per month. So usually it's about 4 to 5 months, sometimes 6 or 7 months that it takes for patients to get to the operating room.
Oh, wow. I mean, I know it wasn't a quick thing,
Right.
but I just didn't know what. I always, people like, oh, it takes a couple of months. And I was like, well, what are you doing, all those months? I don't understand what the criteria is. But
Most of that is insurance company driven because of the number of nutritional visits. Sometimes it could be driven by the patient just needs a lot of workup, make sure their heart is healthy enough, their lungs are healthy enough.
Right.
They don't have any other issues. So there's a lot that's happening in those 4 or 5 months.
And in your time as a surgeon up to right now, have you had a patient that has started it and over the 4 or 5 months of seeing the nutritionist lost enough weight where they said, I don't want to have the surgery?
That has happened once or twice.
Right.
Because as you can imagine, no one wants to have surgery if they don't
No.
have to.
Right, right.
So, patients, I think I've had a patient lose 50, 60 pounds just seeing the nutritionist, and they themselves said, you know what, I think I'm okay where I am. I don't want surgery.
Which is great.
Which is excellent.
Well, that's-
Which is excellent.
you
Surgery's
win.
always the last resort.
Right, that's a win-win right there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a guy who really cares about his patients.
That's the what?
Cares about his patients first.
Absolutely. You bring your patient in, you have to learn about them. They have to learn about you. You have to learn about them. And if you
Or
teach
he's talking them out of it. That's a doctor who really cares
Right.
about the patient.
Well, he's giving them the tools, like you said. He's guiding them to say, hey, if you do this, you know what? In 5 months, you might not need this,
Yeah.
but it takes 3 weeks to form a habit, break it or form one. So
Yeah.
sometimes it clicks with some people, and I'm sure with other people it doesn't click. I always believe that people who overeat, they don't overeat because they're hungry. It's for another reason. So, you're eating something away, your heartbreak, your sorrow, your feelings, or whatever. But I don't think people eat because they're hungry, because you're just not. But so I think sometimes more it's of a mental thing, a psychological thing of why you're eating. And if you could tap into that, the first couple of months, and they're like, hey, I can handle this, then you don't have to have surgery. It's a win-win for you, and for them.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I want to do a little case study,
Okay.
if we could.
Sure.
So our technical director, Frank J. Parisi, that's Frank J. Parisi, he's obese.
Are we pretending that
I
Frank
don't
is
think
obese?
so.
What?
Are we pretending that Frank is obese?
No, he stopped vaping and he gained 22 pounds.
Yeah, but he lost his weight already.
Oh, okay, but let's talk about that.
Okay.
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 So let's talk about Frank J. Parisi's situation.
Okay.
Frank,
Yes.
tell the good doctor here about what happened.
Okay, so essentially I was vaping very often. The convenience of it was most of it just always.
You
in
were
my
vaping
hand.
your food, Frank. Let's
Ye-
admit it. You were vaping food. Yeah.
I think that's essentially what it was coming down to, was that as long as I was getting the nicotine, I wasn't worried about eating. So I eventually quit nicotine, and I wound up gaining like 16 pounds in, I don't even know how, it was like 3 or 4 weeks. And I was like, how is that possible? And I was like, maybe it was from the nicotine. Have you ever seen anything like that?
So oftentimes when patients have something that they're doing or a substance that they're using, and it's I'm not saying that you had an addiction, but you did it a lot. Oftentimes when you stop that, you substitute that feeling you get from the nicotine with doing something else.
Right.
So you stop vaping, and did you increase your food consumption?
I think there might have been some variation of like replacement.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
I'd be working all day, have the vape in my hand at the desk, but
Sure.
I think then that kind of might have turned into like snacks at the desk instead of the vape.
Sure, sure. Now, I will say this, Frank. What you experienced is a little different than the obese patient. I have no idea what your height and your weight is, but you're probably around a BMI of 28, 29 just by looking at you. And you're young. So, you know, small things that you do, small things that you change in your life, you go up and down in weight, that's not an issue. Patients who are obese have been obese for years. And their metabolism is in a certain way where it just cannot revert back to being more efficient. The obese patients that need surgery. So in your particular situation, it's probably a one-on-one correlation with the comfort that you got from vaping, and then you stopped that vaping, and then you sought comfort and maybe eating a little bit more. But you've since lost all the weight, and you're fine now, right?
Yeah, I got back to
Yeah,
my normal.
yeah.
I
So
have-
what you experience is a lot different than what an obese patient is
Right,
experiencing.
that's a big difference.
Yep.
But there are similarities,
There are some similarities.
right? So, I mean, and what you're doing for the community is sorely needed. Sorely needed with obesity on the rise, which, you know, who knows whether it causes hypertension, you know, high blood pressure, cholesterol issues. I know for myself that when I was heavy, ask Lori, she said I was snoring like a freight train. And now it's cut down by what, 80%?
I don't know if I'd go 80, but okay.
Can I dream? How much has it cut down by?
A lot.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah,
a lot.
But it changes. And to have that kind of guidance is really important. So tell us, how can we find you?
I am accessible online, my website, www.claritysurgicalny.com. I'm available on Instagram, Dr. Weight Loss NY. I'm available on Facebook. You can put my name in the search with weight loss surgery or bariatric surgery. I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on YouTube. So I'm on a number of different platforms.
And where is your office?
My office is in technically Huntington Station. It's in the township of Huntington at the intersection of 110 and Jericho, right across the street from Walt Whitman Mall.
Oh,
Oh,
right
yeah, I know
there.
exactly where you are. That's a pretty centrally located place.
Yes.
That's really cool. And do you have a whole big office all set up? And
Funny you asked that. So as you know, I had just opened up the practice last week. We're still building out the location. So currently I'm subleasing some space in the same building, but not in the actual office. And if you go to the Instagram page, I have videos showing the build out. I have videos showing
Cool.
Everything.
Well, I have to say, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Cliff.
We definitely want to have you back on because we want to follow your journey of what you're doing. It'd be really cool to have you back.
Thank you.
You know what would be awesome is that if you could get a patient and we could
Case
follow
study.
you and the patient through the journey. Do you know what I mean?
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
plan for
I
that.
mean, it has to be
A
the right
lot of-
patient who's willing
course,
to.
of
but
course,
that would
of
be
course.
very, you know, the trials and tribunes of the whole thing. That would be a very interesting thing.
Yeah,
to
it'd be
do.
really cool. Yeah. So we'd love to have you back.
Very good.
It'd be really cool. So I'm not sure who we have on next week.
No credits, right?
Oh shoot, I forgot credits.
Are they in there? I can grab them.
No.
Oh, they're not in there.
Well, they're in. No, I didn't do them. I
Okay.
forgot. We got so involved in working through technical issues, I forgot.
That's okay. We got a lot done.
But we will be on next Tuesday. I'm hoping that Lori Kay is back.
Tuesday?
What? Next Monday.
You just said Tuesday.
I was joking.
Okay.
We'll
not going
we'll-
anywhere.
We'll be back next Monday. Lori Kay will be here.
I'll be here.
Frank J. Parisi will be here. Hopefully, cinematographer and lighting director Joe Lavolsi
Lavolsi.
will
Got
be
it.
here. We miss him. Thankfully, Shelby the dog was here,
Sleeping,
And-
snoring the whole time.
snoring the whole time, sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you next week. Bye.